Good Friday morning, everybody. We made it to the end of another week, and that means another episode of Pass Rush Friday. And I think you guys have a good idea of how this works. So let's go ahead and jump right in, taking a look at pressures by each individual player against the Titans. Now, if you watched that game on Sunday, I think you already know that we didn't do very well in this area, and it was a big reason why we lost that game. So you probably already know that these numbers are not going to be particularly good, but we got to go through them anyway. And maybe it's more important to go through these numbers after a bad game to understand what went wrong. And I'll definitely talk about the issues that we had. So let's start with the defensive ends. And it's not a pretty picture. We got a grand total of 3 quarterback pressures from our defensive ends in that game. And that includes Darrell Taylor, by the way, who is arguably a linebacker as much as he is a defensive end, although I think he's playing more end right now. Now, for context purposes, Tannehill dropped back to pass about 45 times against the Seahawks. And defensive ends combined for all of 3 pressures. Dunlap, nothing, nada. Alton Robinson got one, the strip sack, or, well, the forced fumble sack. And Kerry Hyder, and I got to give it up to Kerry Hyder. I think he played a really good game against the Titans, actually. He had 2, which was by far the best thing that we saw from any of our defensive ends in this game. The most disturbing thing to me is that Benson Mayowa played over 50 snaps and had 0 pressures, and Rasheem Green played over 50 snaps and had 0 pressures. That is not winning football. That is not profitable football. That is not a good return on investment. If you're going to play a defensive end that many snaps, they got to get to the QB once or twice over the course of a game. So the issue here is pretty obvious, right? Dunlap, I'm not saying he did a ton with the snaps he got. He didn't. But he's got to play more. I know he's old. I know you want to save him for the end of the season, but what good is saving Dunlap for the end of the season if in the process you make guys like Kerry Hyder, Rasheem Green, and Benson Mayowa play 1,000+ snaps, which is what they're on pace for, more or less. So this is a simple matter of getting your best guys on the field. Dunlap needs playing time. Robinson needs playing time. And those are your defensive ends. Okay, defensive tackle, and this is pretty wild. We got more pressure from our defensive tackles than our defensive ends. And leading the pack, and one of the best Seahawks defenders on Sunday, Al Woods, had 2 pressures. I gave him 2 pressures for the whole season. I just didn't think he was going to be doing any of that. That's not why we brought him in here. That's not his game. That's not what he does. And on a day where we couldn't get anything out of guys like Dunlap, Mayowa, Green, Taylor, etc., 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 it's kind of awesome, but also kind of pathetic that it's Al Woods who ends up showing everybody a thing or two about getting QB pressure. He got a big sack in that game as well on Tannehill that ultimately forced a failed drive. His sack basically provided the entire push backwards by the defense on that drive that resulted in the 4th down failure in the 4th quarter for the Titans. And he played great against the run too. So big ups to Al Woods. He played a great game. But the fact that he's arguably your best pressure guy, I mean, good for him, but that's not what we're looking for on this team, and it's a pretty sad indictment of a lot of players who are supposed to be better than that and supposed to be filling that role. Okay, LJ Collier, good news here. He got a pressure. Yay! He did it. So, look, I don't know how much playing time he's going to see going forward. He is clearly, in the eyes of this coaching staff, he is clearly a tier below Monet whenever Monet gets back, which could be this week. And honestly, we played Kimdichie more than Collier. We gave Kimdichie more snaps than Collier, and it wasn't very close. And Kimdichie didn't pick up any pressures in this game, but he did play reasonably well other than the penalty. So I'm wondering if we're going to see Kemdichi take all the snaps that I thought Collier was going to get when this whole thing sorts itself out. So I don't know exactly what's going on there, but yeah, this is something you're not going to see, hopefully, very much this season. We got more pressures from our defensive tackles than we did from our defensive ends. Linebacker, we got one pressure from the linebackers, and it was Bobby Wagner who actually picked up a third down sack on Tannehill, which, hey, it's a big play in the game, and he's actually very active on the blitz so far this year. He's already got 2 pressures through 2 games. That's never been a huge part of his game, but it's appreciated. And on a game like that Titans game where we really weren't getting that much QB pressure, a guy like Bobby Wagner bursting in and getting one is key. So nobody else had anything. Darrell Taylor, by the way, who didn't get any, barely played, which is another red mark against the front office. I'm sorry, not the front office, the coaching staff for me coming out of this game. Okay, the rest of this video is going to go super quick because cornerbacks, nothing. I think that Blair and Amadi have blitzed once apiece so far this season, so they're not really being utilized as blitzers very much yet, and predictably they haven't gotten any results, and I don't think anyone else has blitzed yet, so not a surprise, not anything I'm unhappy with. And safeties, same deal, and after the first game it wasn't a big deal, but Jamal Adams blitzed quite a bit against the Titans and didn't get any pressures to show for it. I know they were doing a good job picking him up on the blitz, but yeah, that's a problem. And I think Jamal Adams overall has played pretty well through the first 2 games. He's cleaned him, like I broke it down yesterday, he cleaned himself up well in coverage, but we need a playmaker. We need somebody who gets big sacks to kill drives. We need somebody who takes the ball away. We need him to make plays in the backfield, and right now it's not happening. And for Jamal Adams to play 2 games and face somewhere around 85 total pass attempts and get 0 pressures on, I think, like 9 or 10 total blitzes, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel like a good return on investment. So, that's it. That's it. So, you add it all up, you got 8 pressures against the Titans on 45 approximate pass attempts, or dropbacks. Yeah, that's not good enough. That's not cutting it. That's not getting it done. That's not good enough to win a lot of games, and it's not good enough to get to 200 by the end of the season. After 2 games, we've got 22 pressures. That's not going to cut it. That's not going to get us to 200 by the end of the season, and I don't think it's going to get us to anywhere we want to be as a defense or as a team. This defense is built around their ability to get pressure, and the thing that really drives me insane about it is the fix seems so simple. This is not a scheme thing. This is not a talent thing. This is just a play your best guys more snaps thing. And I already talked about this in the snap count video, so I'm not going to go into it too much right now, but you didn't bring Dunlap back for all that money to not play him. You didn't draft Darrell Taylor and hype him up this whole offseason to not play him. I can't believe that happened. Of all the things I thought this coaching staff would get wrong, I never thought they would get that wrong. So, hoping for better things going forward, but yeah, this was a bad game. We had a couple of unexpected heroes of the pass rush in this one, but overall, pretty pitiful performance. Needs to be better going forward. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks. More videos later today, and we're almost to a great opportunity to wash the taste of this game out of our mouths.